Okay, good morning, everyone that just came in. We are gonna get here, it started here pretty soon. I'm gonna give maybe one more minute or two just to allow other people to come in into the room. All right, so I give about 2 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and get started just because this is recorded so people can access this if they come in a little later. And Ingrid. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's training. My name is Jennifer, and tonight's session will also be available in Spanish, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Russian. And once this message is shared in all languages, the globe icon at the bottom will appear. And so remember to click on your preferred language. And if you hear more than one channel, click Mute Original Audio. And so now we're going to go ahead and give the space to the Spanish interpreter so that way they can say the same message and then so on.
Muy buenos días. Esta sesión de hoy será disponible en español, vietnamés, chino y ruso. Cuando hagamos ya compartido todo este mensaje en todos los idiomas, abajo de su pantalla va a aparecer un globo. Recuerden de hacer clic en su lenguaje preferido y si escuchan más de una voz o un lenguaje, hagan clic donde dice Mute Original Audio.
Thank you.
Sáng nay, phone hộp sẽ có sẵn tiếng Mễ, Việt Nam, Tàu và Nga. Một khi cái nhắn tin này được mọi người nghe nói tiếng thì làm ơn bấm biểu cầu thanh ở dưới cùng. Nhớ bấm ngôn ngữ tiếng mình thích và nếu nghe hơn một kênh bấm tắt tiếng âm thanh gốc. Cảm ơn.
The Chinese interpreter, please. Thank you. Hi, did you hear me?
Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, good. Yeah. 欢迎大家。然后呢，今天的话呢，我们有4个语言的翻译，分别是西班牙语、越南语、中文，然后呢还有俄语。那我们等一下呢会在屏幕上显示，就是您看到这个截图里面的这一个地球的表。然后呢，您就可以看到里面就可以给你选这一个语言，然后呢，您记得就是把元音消掉，要不然的话呢，你就会听到2个语言。但是呢，您选中文就可以了。All right, I'm good.
Thank you. And then now the Russian interpreter, Alla, thank you.
Сегодняшняя сессия будет также доступна на испанском, вьетнамском, китайском и русском языке. Как только все сообщения будут записаны на всех языках, вы увидите земной шар, знак земного шара. Вы увидите, он покажется, знак земного шара. Помните, нажать на этот знак. Помните нажать и выбрать язык, на котором вы хотите услышать эту встречу. И затем нажмите на знак «Закончить», на знак «Замьют». Если вы хотите, чтобы услышать на русском языке, нажмите знак «Mute» на английской версии. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we had all the interpreters go. I'm going to go ahead and press the start button for all you to choose your interpreting channels. So before we get started, we have a disclaimer. These materials provided by First Children Finance, they do not constitute legal, accounting, or tax or finance advice, or any other professional services. If you're seeking professional advice about a specific aspect of your business, please consult a member of our staff or another qualified professional. And these materials are used to help your programs and are to be shared with others. Thank you. So before we get started, we're going to talk about a little bit of about First Children's Finance. We help children, families, and communities thrive by increasing the availability, affordability, and quality of early care and education. We accomplish this by providing financial and business development assistance to childcare businesses serving low and moderate income families, and building partnerships that connect these vital businesses with the resources of the public and private sector. And then next we have, you're going to go ahead and meet our team. We have 4 business development specialists. 2 of those are bilingual. That's Ingrid, she's here with us today, and then me, Jennifer. And then we have 2 managers, and then we have Dr. Jamisha Witch, who's the Oregon director. And then we also have a program specialist. And we're all here in Oregon. And now we're going to talk about the Child Care Infrastructure Fund. I'm also going to be referring it to as the CCIF. Was established through the House Bill 30-05 during the 2023 legislative session to strengthen the child care infrastructure across Oregon. This program supports the development, expansion, and improvement of child care facilities. Business Oregon administers the grant, while the Department of Early Learning and Care, DELC, oversees the statewide business technical assistant. We are working with Northwest Native Chamber and us, First Children's Finance, to support child care providers through the process. And the goal of the CCIF is to increase child care slots and enhance the quality of child care facilities, providing this critical support for families and communities across Oregon. I just want to make sure that all the interpreters are interpreting in their correct places. Okay. And then next, we're going to go ahead and move to the, we're going to be talking about today's topic, which is the allowable versus the unallowable costs. Next slide, please. So today, the information that we give you here, the information that is given to you today is the foundation understanding of these 2 key terms, which is allowable costs and unallowable. We're going to be talking about these 2 words throughout the webinar. These definitions apply across many types of grant funding, not just the CCIF. Allowable costs are basically what you can spend your grant money on. They are expenses that align with the purpose and rules of the grant, and these costs are typically listed in the funding guidelines and are considered necessary and appropriate for achieving the project goals. You can find the allowable costs and unallowable costs in the CCIF guidelines and also in the RFGA. Now we're going to move on to talk about unallowable costs. Unallowable costs are expenses that cannot be paid for using grant funds. And these unallowable costs, on the other hand, are expenses that the grant specifically does not cover. These could be things like everyday operating costs, items not tied to the main purpose of the funding, or costs that happen before your project is officially approved. It is really important to understand the distinction early, because getting it right means you're more likely to have a stronger, more competitive application and avoid running into problems during application or disbursement or auditing if you're to be awarded funding. And then now we're going to provide you with a quick review. These are the 3 types of funding awards available in round 2 of the Child Care Infrastructure Fund. First, we have minor renovations and repairs, which covers projects between $20,000 and $100,000. These are typically smaller updates and could be projects like flooring, interior painting, or ADA improvements. Things that make the space safer or more suitable for childcare, but don't require major construction. Next is the major renovation or new construction. This is a much larger range. It goes from 100 up to 2 million, and these projects involve significant upgrades like building new classroom, a structural expansion, or complete facility builds. And then the third category is property acquisition. And the property acquisition also ranges from 20,000 to 2 million. And this is for purchasing land or buildings that will be used for licensed childcare. It's important to know that having a clear plan to move forward, to move towards licensure. Just buying property with a someday goal, it's not enough. You're going to have a detailed plan. And then across all these types, the key requirement is that projects must result in increased licensed childcare capacity and meet all necessary licensing standards. The goal of this fund is to expand access to quality care in Oregon. To support this, applicants should connect early and often with their childcare licensing specialists or licensors to ensure their project plans align with the state requirements and can support future licensures or capacity expansion. Doing so helps avoid costly changes later and strengthen your overall application. And then now let's review the program guidelines for what CCIF funds can be used for. These are the guiding principles behind all allowable expenses. First, funds must go toward fixed, immovable capital improvements. This means improvements to the physical structure of property, things that are permanent and can't be picked up and moved, like walls, plumbing, HVAC, or playground surfacing. Second, the improvements must be tied to expanding or enhancing licensed childcare capacity. So even if you're making a permanent improvement, it still needs to support more slots for children or improve the quality or safety of care in a licensed setting. And finally, all activities must be connected to a permanent physical location, not mobile programs or pop-up sites. The site should be placed where childcare is or will be licensed and operating. If you're looking for more detailed guidance, we recommend viewing the Oregon Business Development Administrative Rules, specifically Chapter 123, Division 700 of the Oregon Administrative Rules. Focus on the 123-700-0070, which outlines what qualifies as an eligible project and project costs under the Child Care Infrastructure Program. This is the official rule that governs what Business Oregon can and cannot fund. Here you can have a QR code if you want to scan that to be able to access it faster. These general guidelines help ensure that the CCI remains focused on long-term infrastructure improvements that directly support Oregon's child care system. And then here, the next slide, that's perfect. Here we have a few allowable costs for each type of the CCI project award. This is not an extensive list. This is just helping you see the general guidelines apply in real life scenarios. So starting with minor renovations and repairs, these include upgrades like flooring, plumbing, or HVAC systems, which improve health and safety in licensed setting. Interior painting is also allowable as long as it's part of preparing a child care space. You can also use funds for ADA compliance improvements, such as ramp or accessible bathrooms. And if you're resurfacing a playground, it must be with permanent materials like per rubber or turf, not temporary mats. For major renovation or new construction, allowable costs include demolition and site prep, especially if you're building something new from the ground up. New facility construction, roof replacement, or structure expansions like adding a new classroom are all included here. You can also fund permanent playground structure or fencing as long as they're fixed and part of the licensed facility layout. And for property acquisition, the funds can be used to purchase land or buildings, but only if they will be used specifically for child care. That means you must have a concrete timeline plan for licensing, not just a long-term vision. And then to end kind of this part with me here, some takeaways for today is to be an allowable cost, it must be permanent capital improvements, increase or enhance licensed childcare capacity, and align with the CCIF goals of childcare sustainability, community and cultural alignment, and equity and access to care, specifically for historically underserved communities. So as you plan your project, think not only about what you can build, but how it will meet local needs, support long-term operations, and ensure more families can access care. And then now I'm going to give the space to Ingrid. Thank you.
Next, we will cover what's known as soft costs. These are expenses that aren't construction related, but are still essential to moving an infrastructure project forward. These costs are allowable under CCIF, but they come with an important condition. Soft costs must be tied directly to your capital project. For example, architecture or engineering fees to develop design plans, environmental studies or permits that are required before you build, legal fees, but only if they're related to purchasing property for childcare use, and consultant fees connected to design or construction readiness, like pre-construction planning or site feasibility work. Now, a few critical reminders. Soft costs must stay within the limits of your total CCIF award. So for example, if you receive $500,000, only a portion should be allocated to soft costs. The majority should go towards construction or other permanent physical improvements. Soft costs are not reimbursable, meaning you cannot pay for them upfront and then get reimbursed later. They'll only be able to request payments for these soft costs after your grant agreement is signed and only for the expenses that happen from that point forward. So timing is really important. Don't commit to these services or spend money on them before you have officially received and signed your grant agreement. Otherwise, those expenses won't be covered. So remember that the soft costs are a helpful part of your project budget, but they must be limited, tied to infrastructure, and carefully timed to fall after your award it's active. So after you have received the award money that you apply for or that you qualified for. Now, we will highlight a really important part of CCIF, understanding what you cannot spend grant funds on. While this fund supports building and improving childcare infrastructure, it has clear boundaries to ensure that dollars are used for permanent capacity expanding improvements, not day-to-day operations or short-term needs. Here's what's not allowed. Operational costs like staffing salaries, utilities, curriculum, or insurance. These are considered ongoing business expenses and not capital investments. Movable equipment or supplies, such as furniture, toys, or electronics. Even though these are needed for our childcare program, they don't count as fixed improvements. Vehicles or transportation related costs, including buses or vans, even if these are used for childcare transportation or to run your business. These are also don't count as fixed improvements. Oh, my apologies. Another non-allowable costs are temporary structures like portable classroom or sheds. CCIF focuses on long-term licensed childcare facilities, not short-term or mobile setups. Maintenance not tied to the capacity expansion. For example, fixing a leaky faucet or repainting a hole, it's only allowable if it's clearly part of the expanding your childcare capacity. And finally, costs incurred before your grant agreement is signed. These are also not eligible. These include only soft or hard costs. If you spend money before you have a signed agreement in place, CCIF cannot reimburse you. And this is something very important to remember. So some key takeaways. Think of CCIF as a capital investment fund. It supports permanent, future-focused improvements. Anything related to operations, temporary fixes, or early spending, it's off the table. Avoiding these expenses in your budget is essential to submitting a strong, eligible application and avoiding audit or repayment issues down the line. As a reminder, this list is not comprehensive and may include other non-allowable costs. If you're looking for more detailed guidance, we recommend reviewing the Oregon Business Development Department's Administrative Rule, officially Chapter 123, Division 700 of the Oregon Administrative Rule. To learn more about ineligible project costs, focus on 123-700-0080. This is the official rule that governs what Business Oregon can and cannot fund. So now we'll look into some common questions. We'd like to take some time and address some of the most frequently asked questions we hear from applicants and help clarify some of these gray areas where people often get confused about what's allowed. One of the first questions we can see here is, can I buy furniture with CCIF funds? The answer is no. Furniture is considered movable equipment and therefore not an allowable cost under CCIF. This includes items like chairs, tables, shelving units, or cubbies. Even though they're necessary for your program, they aren't considered fixed infrastructure improvements. Another question that we often see is, can I fix my driveway or parking lot? The answer is yes, but only if that work is essentially to facilitate access and tied to expanding license capacity. For example, if your childcare expansion it's adding classrooms or increasing enrollment and you need additional or improved parking to meet code or accessibility requirements, then that can be an allowable cost. Always tied it back to capacity and compliance. Next, we have, can I use the grant for licensing fees? The answer is no. CCIF does not cover operational costs, and licensing fees fall into that category. This includes application fees, background checks, or training costs. All of those need to be funded separately from CCIF. And lastly, we have, can I buy a building for future childcare use? The answer to that is yes, but only if you have a clear and immediate plan for that property to be a licensed childcare facility. You'll need to show readiness, things like timeline, budget, zoning approval, or a pathway to licensure. Buying a property with the hope of maybe turning it into a childcare someday is not enough. So remember, the best way to approach your budget is to ask yourself, is this a permanent improvement that helps expand or enhance licensed childcare capacity? And does it align with CCIF long-term goals? If the answer is yes, it's likely allowable. If not, it probably belongs outside of your CCIF budget. There are often questions that come up pertaining to indirect costs and taxes related to CCIF grant funding. First, we have, can the funds cover indirect costs like utilities, administrative overhead, or office supplies? The answer to that question is no. CCIF funds cannot be used to indirect costs. This is a strict requirement due to how the grant is funded through the lottery bonds, which are restricted to capital improvements only. That means every dollar must be tied directly to physical, fixed infrastructure, not general operating expenses or administrative support. Second, we have, am I required to use a licensed contractor? The answer to that is yes. Contractors must be currently licensed by the Oregon Construction Contractors Board of Oregon Corporative Division. Additionally, contracts must carry liability insurance. And if they have employees, they must also have workers' compensation insurance. Third, we have, can any portion of the grant be used to pay taxes, such as state or federal taxes owned as a result of receiving the grant? The answer to that, again, is no. CCIF programs funds cannot be used to pay federal, state, or local taxes. These are considered financial obligations of the organization and fall outside of the allowable cost structures for the infrastructure grants. We know that navigating the tax implications of receiving grant funding can be challenging, especially for smaller providers or community-based organizations. That's why we encourage you to reach out to us, First Children's Finance, or one of our partners like Northwest Native Chamber, as we can provide you with guidance or connect you to resources that help with tax planning and reporting for grant funds. So please remember that CCIF is an infrastructure grant. So it's designed for brick and mortar improvements, not operational support or tax coverage. Make sure your project budget reflects that in order to be eligible for these funds or to have a strong application when you're applying. Finally, while not completely related to allowable and eligible expenditures from the OAR, please keep in mind that additional unspent funds must be returned within 30 days of project completion or completion deadline. If the project ends up costing more than the projections, awardees will only receive the amount granted in the agreements. Here we have some key tips to help you submit a strong, eligible, and competitive CCIF application. These are based on common challenges and feedback from round one. So we encourage you to keep them front and center as you develop the proposal. First, we have please review the full program guideline PDF. This document is your best friend. It outlines all eligible rules, allowable costs, definitions, and funding limits. Make sure everyone on your team who's working on the project has read it. It's the most accurate and detailed source of information. Second, ensure your project scope is aligned with fixed asset improvements. Ask yourself, are these expenses permanent? Are they tied to increasing licensed childcare capacity? Do they stay with the property? These are guiding questions that will help keep your scope focused and aligned with CCIF, with what CCIF is designed to fund. Third, we have a clear separate non-CCIF expenses in your budget. We know that many childcare projects require furniture, classroom supplies, or operational setup, and that's fine. Just make sure those costs are funded through other sources and clearly marketed in your in your budget. Mixing them into the CCIF portion can delay or hurt your application. And finally, be ready to provide quotes, estimates, or a scope of work. The more specific and detailed you are, the better. If you're planning a construction or renovation project, attach a contractor's estimate or basic scope. This shows you've done your planning and are ready to use the funds responsibly and quickly, which is a big plus for reviewers. The bottom line is that the strongest applications are clear, focused, and well prepared. And they show a solid understanding of what CCIF can and cannot fund. We have two critical requirements for submitting the CCIF application, and we really want applicants to understand these early so they can plan their submissions accordingly. First, each application must be tied to a single childcare facility. That means all projects in your application, whether it's a roof replacement, ADA upgrades, or a new classroom, you must be ready. Must be for the same physical site. You can bundle multiple related constructions or renovations activities together as long as they all benefit that one facility. What you cannot do is submit one application that covers multiple sites, even if they're owned by the same organization. If a project at site A doesn't directly impact site B, they need to be separate applications. And even then, each site can only apply once per round. Second, Business Oregon will only accept one application per facility per grant round. This means that even if you have several project types in mind, say one minor or major renovation and one for a new playground, you'll need to roll them into a single submission. You cannot submit multiple separate applications for the same location. So please remember and keep in mind that your application needs to focus on a single facility and ensure that all proposed work is connected, cohesive, and tied to that one site. This keeps your application clean, eligible, and easy to evaluate. Now, we would like to share some of our resources and trainings that we are providing at First Children's Finance. We would like to remind you that First Children's Finance is an expert in childcare business model innovation, and that we offer free childcare business management trainings covering hot topics such as budget and cash flow projections, developing a marketing plan, business policies and practices, and quality staffing. Each training provides you with a practical with practical handouts that you can apply to your business, that you can use for the to manage your business or to keep track of your expenses, or your income. To register for the trainings, you can scan the QR code that you can see on our right hand side, or you may also visit our website. Again, touching back on what we are and what we do for student finance. In Oregon is the leader in growing the supply of excellent childcare. We empower childcare businesses and collaborate with communities and the state of Oregon to identify and implement strategies to increase the supply of high quality childcare. We bring new thinking. We bring new thinking about facility use, licensing reform, financial incentives, and community partnerships. We would also like to share our upcoming, our first ever business conference, as Essentials of Excellence, which is going to be it's going to be taking place June 14th of this year. The early bird registration actually closes today, so if you would like to take advantage of that, we encourage you to apply by end of today. And if not, the registration is going to go up through May 24th. We would like to thank you all for your time today, and please remember that First Students Finance is here to help you. We are experts in childcare businesses, model innovation, and again, we offer free childcare training, businesses, and we're here to help you. So if you have any questions or any concerns, we would like to open this time for you to bring those forward to us, and we'll be happy to help you answer and navigate those. Lastly, I would like to share our contact. If you have any questions for us, or if you would like to contact us in the future, you can find our phone number on this slide, along with our email and our website. Again, I will now leave the floor open for any questions that you may have for us. Or if you want to connect with us on a specific questions related to your childcare needs or your projects, please feel free to contact us directly, and we'll be happy to help you and support you through the process of applying for the CCIF grants. Do any of the participants today have any questions for us that we can answer for you? If nobody has any additional questions, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.